Hey girl, I'm Jamie Constantine. I'm a wife, mom of 2 teenage boys, and a multi-passionate female entrepreneur. I have a vision of a world of confident women who love themselves wholeheartedly. This is my new happy place, and I hope that it becomes yours too. So toss your hair up in that messy bun, grab your cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Welcome to the Happy Girl Podcast. Looking for a little retail therapy and want to shop from the comfort of your own home? Head on over to happygirlpodcast.com, click on our sponsors, and check out None of Your Business Boutique. Enter discount code HAPPYGIRL to save $5 off your purchase. Hi, ladies. Welcome back to another episode of the Happy Girl Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Constantine, and today we have a super sweet guest with us on the show, Dr. June Hall, affectionately called Dr. June. Dr. June is a motivator, syndicated advice columnist, TEDx speaker, and most importantly, she's an apter, someone who accentuates positive thinking. When faced with trials that negatively impacted her life, her faith in God helped her cope in a positive way. Now she spreads a message of positivity through her workshops, presentations, and social media. Today, we're going to dive in and talk about moving forward and finding your happy using positivity. Now, ladies, Dr. June, I'm all about this. And I'm so excited to have you on the show. I would love for you to introduce yourself to the listeners. But most importantly, I have to ask you, Dr. June, what is your favorite cup of coffee if you do have one?
I knew you were going to ask that question, and I was like, I don't even know how to answer the question considering I don't really drink coffee.
It's okay.
But when I do have her 2 times a year or however many times I decide to drink, I add mocha.
There you go. Okay, mocha, girl after my own heart. It's okay. I still love you.
Thank you. My best friend is like a total coffee drinker. She has to have it every day. And sometimes I'll call and say, guess what? I'm having coffee today.
Yay. Well, you should introduce us.
I should. She's a chef too, so you'll want her to cook for you.
Oh, yes. Okay. Two bonuses right there. Well, Dr. June, I'm so glad to have you on the show, and I can't wait for our listeners to hear what you have to say about positive thinking, sharing your story. I had the opportunity to watch your TEDx video, and I really tried to hold back the tears as I watched it. For you to touch so many lives and share your story and spread the message of positivity the way that you do, it's extremely inspiring. And I would just love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little more about who Dr. June is.
Well, basically, I am, as you said, a motivator. Ever since I was younger, even an adolescent, my friends would call me mom and say, "Hey, ask me for advice." Because I don't know. My siblings were older than I am, as you know, in my TEDx, they were older than me. So I guess I matured early. And then when I was older, I kind of regressed, went back to childhood behavior. But basically, I used to be a counselor and do family therapy, family counseling. And then I started teaching psychology. And then I started to do the Aptatious Network, where you accentuate positive thinking, and started teaching all about how, even though there's things that are going awry in your life, there's always still something good happening in your life. And so that's the basic premise of apting.
I love that. And I think we try so hard to find that joy and find that happiness and find that message from other people, from other resources out there. And I feel like lately it's been a daily reminder. I'm going to be honest, scrolling through social media, hearing from my friends, touching base just to see how they're doing. I can see, I mean, it happens all the time, but really most recently, it seems like a lot of people are going through something emotional, some
Hmm.
sort of loss, some sort of hardship. And it really takes a certain strength or a certain something to either be that positivity for somebody else or help guide them and find that light. What would you say as far as what you're seeing is happening recently, and how do you talk to people that are going through something? Because you've had your trials, you've had your loss, in your life, and through experience, you've been able to spread that message of finding happiness. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yes, my brother, I was talking to my brother who is still with us. He said that we have gone through some things, and I said, yes, we have. But I'll tell you this, when, as you know, from the TEDx, I'm the one who I saw my dad take his last breath. And so, and they were like, how can you find positivity in that? I said, well, the positive thing, because I believe there's always something good still happening. And the positive thing is that I was there for my mom, because otherwise she would have been the one to find him. And I can't even imagine the travesty that it would have been. So that's the positive. So I try to find something good in whatever it is that may be going awry. And I think that when we get so caught up in our own feelings and our own stressors, we forget that. And I'm not saying, that don't be sad. I mean, that's like crazy. Of course I'm sad. Of course I cry or whatever. But how long are you going to stay in that downward spiral, and before you start processing of saying, okay, let me get myself together, let me think about, and what we forget about are things that we normally take for granted, like you and I being able to have a conversation,
Right.
or being able to go to school and read, being able to walk. I mean, whatever it is, something simple, being able to have a cup of soup, even if it's like, oh, but you know what, I can't afford steak, but you have something in your belly. So I think that what happens is we so many times take things for granted. And so I learned not to do that and to be happy for what it is that we have, knowing that we can progress and eventually even grow and get more. And I think that that's a part of one of the things that I do, and I try to share with others. Think about what it is that you do have instead of focusing so much on what you don't have.
Absolutely. And we don't want to discount the fact that we are hurting or
Exactly.
mourning or in pain.
Exactly.
And I really love the fact that you bring up, even though you're going through something bad or something hard, I love quotes, but I also don't want people to hang on to quotes because I don't want them
Hmm.
to have this false perception of, oh, there's something good in every day. Oh, yeah, right.
Hmm.
But to truly dive in and be aware and see that there truly
Yeah.
is.
And I
And I
mean,
mean,
there's bad things going on. This past few years
yes,
has not been a good, has not been
right,
and that's true. And we have to face that. But I think that part of what I try to share is, yes, I mean, it's been some tragedies. I mean, I've lost half my family. But it's like, how do we move on? Are we going to allow these negative things to stop us from moving on and doing happy things and finding our happy? And so that's what my question is. Do we just stop and don't
right.
do anything else to enjoy life? So,
Do you find or agree in this perspective that people tend to find more gratitude or see even those small things to be thankful for, usually in the time of trauma or in the time of some of their darkest moments, is when they're able to really learn what it truly is to be thankful for the little things compared to, and I'm not saying that people where everything is sunshine and rainbows every day, that they don't have gratitude, but do you think that it shows up more when we go through those negative things?
sometimes that's what it takes for a person to find that particular happiness because they had to face these trials. Sometimes they haven't had to face anything. Life was just good and then boom. And it's like, oh, you know what? This is impacting me. And then sometimes that is what's needed. But I also just want to say this, that we are talking about individuals who have, I don't know what the words, some strength, in their mental and emotional health, because there are people who need professional assistance. There are people who are diagnosed with true depression, and so this is not something that they can just grab a hold on and do, because they're going to need professional help. But if that's not what you're going through, if you're just going through feeling distressed or distraught
Right.
because of life circumstances, then you can take a hold of apting and going forward and moving happy. So I always like to mention that.
So, apt, for the listeners who are just listening or can't see any of the graphics or anything like that, apt is APT, accentuate positive thinking.
Right.
That's just so amazing. And you have a lot of tools and resources or practices, right, that you love to share with your community. And I would love to know how that really works, what a process is like going through that aptatious or trying to live an aptatious life. And eventually, I'd love for you to share some of the things that might be beneficial now and for the future for some of our listeners that are listening right now.
It's so funny because I just had a conversation with someone not too long ago who's like, "Oh my God, I can't get over, whatever was happening in their life." And I was like, "Well, what you need to do, or think about, do you have a good friend? Do you have someone who loves you? What do you have that's good?" And so I say, take a jar every day, every other day, 2 times a week, however you want, how many times you want to, write down something good. Something particularly good may have happened that day, and you write it down and you put it in the jar, and then you write something else down, you put it in a jar. And when you're feeling down, go to that jar and pull out those positive things and look at it. So that's one of the things that you do. The other thing that I tell people, I actually did this at a workshop, because we have like workshops about 6 times a year. We have a big annual event, and I actually walked around with a garbage can. And after they wrote down whatever negative things that were going on, and I had them ball it up and say, "Here, throw it away." So sometimes you actually have to do that. I mean, it's
Oh,
not like you're physically, but emotionally, you're getting it out of your head, you're writing it down, balling it up, throw it in the garbage, move on, and go to your positivity jar and pull out something good instead of walking around with that negative. And so sometimes we actually have to just do something physical. These are tips that I share with people.
I like that. I like that you get that physical activity because
Yeah.
regardless of what kind of learner we are, right? Some are like
Mhm.
more visual, some are more physical, some have to do both.
Right.
Um, I think whatever gets you into the habit, because if you're not doing that already, you got to try something that just might work.
Yes.
And I love the concept of you saying to just throw it out, right? And you see some
Mhm.
people that maybe write a note and then I'm not saying to like play with fire or anything like that, but then
Mhm.
they'll burn it. So just be
Yeah.
careful if you are going to
Right.
do that. That disclosure out there. If you're going to light a match and burn it, just be very
You
careful.
guys be careful of
Yes.
Jamie.
Sometimes this is what happens when I think outside the box. And then I say it and I'm like, "Wait a minute. I know our listeners know better." But I just have to say. So that's a
But
really
yeah.
great concept, and I love that. Now you do workshops, you do,
Yeah, we
like,
have an annual conference
presentations.
every year. And the workshops, we do something different. Like in January, we did 2022 Nice New View. So, what is your new view for 2022? Yeah, we've been through some bad years. All right, what are you thinking of that's good that could possibly happen? And sometimes, have you ever heard this? Okay, this could happen. And you always think about what bad could happen, and it's like, okay, what could possibly good happen? That type
Right.
of thing.
You have
And
to get into that practice.
yes, and know what it is that makes you happy. And so that when you do feel a certain way, it's like, okay, what can I go to that makes me happy? Like I like this Ed Sheeran song, what's it called? Shivers. I'm like, you play that song, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get up and dance. And you're too young, young, beautiful Jamie. But for people who are my age, we like I mean, I like Vince Vaughn. He's so funny to me, the actor Vince Vaughn. And so I have movies and just like clips of things that he's done because it's so funny and it always makes me laugh and fall on the floor laughing. So what is it? Is it walking? Is it going, outside by the water? What is it that is your happy? So you should have a few things lined up when you need to go to them and enjoy yourself and pull yourself out of your funk.
Yeah, just creating that treasure chest kind of, right? That
Yes,
toolbox.
yes. So that's like so that was like our 2022, new you, what's your vision for 2022? And sometimes we have like love yourself, like for February for Valentine's Day, just different monthly, like 6 times a year we have these events to just find different ways to continue to be positive. We used to just have the one annual event in August, but we're like, you know what? We need something more. So
Yeah,
we started doing them a little, doing smaller ones throughout the year and still just have our big one.
I like that because it keeps everybody present, right? It gives you
Yes.
another opportunity to touch base and check in with yourself
Yeah.
and check in with others. So,
Yeah, and not just wellness. We talk about legal, how to do legal issues, financial issues, because a lot of people are down.
yeah.
Since the past couple of years, a lot of people have lost jobs, or their finances have not been in order. So, just we talk about different things that can help you in life, not just like smile and be happy, but here are some things that you can really do about problems you are facing. So that's
Yes.
what we try to do.
As women, we rarely put ourselves first. Isn't it time to pamper yourself? I want to tell you about Bella Body Contouring Spa, an unrivaled health spa located in Trinity, Florida. Bella Body Contouring offers an exclusive collection of non invasive body contouring services that will help you achieve your body contouring goals. Through advanced techniques and the use of FDA approved technology, their team of technicians delivers high end results at the level care you need. Their services are designed to tighten, smooth, reduce, and renew your skin so you can get back to life feeling your best. Be bold, feel free, and beautiful, and leave confident. Mention this ad and take 10% off any service. And I will let you know, I love listening to 50s music. And it's weird because I used to listen to it even when I was younger, like a teenager. I love
Yeah.
oldies, 50s music, and it's been what's been playing in my car. And I was joking with my husband the other day because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm listening to the 50s music. It makes me feel good. I think I
I
might have lived in the 50s in another life,
Yeah.
but it's very nostalgic. So I'm driving and I realize I think I was driving like a I don't know, how do I say that? I'm just gonna say I felt like I was driving like a 90-year-old because I was so relaxed and I'm listening to the music and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going below the speed limit. This is not good."
Because you were chilling in
Yeah.
the car listening to your music.
So maybe one way to practice patience with those drivers that are out there that are driving like that, maybe they're just in a good place listening to their music.
Yes, exactly. See, thank you for sharing that. You heard that. That's a great point.
Yes.
So these are different things that you can do. So you know that you like 50s music. And I think a lot of people don't know what their happy is. You say, what
It's
makes you happy? And
true.
then they're like, oh, what does make me
It's
happy?
true. You're right.
Yeah. So that's something important that I think that people need to know in advance before they get into a downward spiral so they can know how to go to it and feel better.
Yeah, because I mean, would you agree that we we all
Mhm.
hopefully have experienced some sort of joy,
Mhm.
some sort of happiness or happy feeling? We've all
Mhm.
hopefully had a chance to experience that. Maybe
Right.
it's not all the time, and whatever amounts of times that they did feel that, I mean, do you think that people can still hone in on that when they are feeling good and remember? Because I guess
Yeah.
that's the easiest time to put that in your treasure
That's what I
box,
said. When
right?
something particularly good happens, put it in your jar. Then you can go back and remember it. And you know what? Is this life things are not happy all the time. COVID hit, but that was a bad thing. But prior to that, bad things were happening too.
Right.
So it's like things happen, unfortunately, in life. And I think that sometimes we get caught up, oh no, this happened. It was like, it's life. Your heart goes up and down. And that means that you're alive when they're doing the monitor. It's going up and down, because if it's not, you're in trouble. So that's kind of like life. It kind of goes up and down. And so sometimes when it hits us, we are so thrown off. It's like, oh my goodness. But not that you should sit around waiting for bad things to happen, but just
Right.
know that, it is a part of life. So, and yes, you can still be joyful. Like, I still remember from my family the funny things that, and I can laugh from them. Whatever I dream about my sister, I always wake up laughing. I don't know what it is. I may not even remember the dream. I just remember that she's in my dream. I don't know what it is about it. Just, I always wake up laughing. So you can remember the good times, even with things that you have lost, people you have lost, and still be joyful.
Right. That's so true. And I guess I want to put this out there too, that people shouldn't feel pressure to be happy all of the
Yes,
time. And
yes,
I
yes. That's unnatural.
I think that's what scares them or stops them from trying, because if they get back to a point where they are going through something tough, then it's kind of like an embarrassing thing, like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be happy. And
Yes.
the thing that I try to throw out there with the Happy Girl podcast, even though the name is happy and we're all
Mhm,
about empowering people, or not even empowering, just encouraging them to live their
mhm.
most happy and joyful lives. If I myself, as a real person, am going through something, or if I happen to say something negative, right? Even if it's about somebody else, whatever it is, nobody's claiming to be a saint. This is not like live as a saint. You're perfect. You're 100% joyful, 100% happy. Like you're saying, this is life, and we're all human beings. And it's okay to not be happy 100% of the time, but to know that there are ways that we can keep going, push
Yes.
through, and really just keep walking in those steps
It's
of joy and
unnatural. It's
positivity.
unnatural. And I mean, you can have a hardy personality and face trials with strength, but that doesn't mean that you're happy about it. And like, with the app, a positive thinking, you're not going to think positive all the time. Something's going to happen and you're going to feel negative, maybe about a person or about the situation. That is true. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I mean, it's unrealistic. And when you are that happy person, and if somebody sees you and they're like, what's wrong? Because
Right.
they're always like, it's like, can that person have a moment? But because you're always putting out that facade of happiness, and it's like, oh, I can't have a moment. So don't fall into that trap, for sure.
Yes. Now, you recently came out with something, and it's a planner. Is it the Aptatious planner that you came out with? Is that what that
Oh, it's a
is?
calendar. Yeah, it's a
Calendar.
calendar. It has a weekly inspiration, which sometimes I have to go back and look. I was telling somebody said to me, you know what, thank you so much for your calendar, because every week it has like a quote that I have written. And I was like, oh, she said, it keeps me going. I said, you know what? I'm embarrassed to tell you. And this is the whole thing about being happy. I'm the one who wrote the application. And I said to her, I'm embarrassed to tell you, which I should not have been, that sometimes I have to go back and read my quotes and be like, oh yeah, I need to get myself together, and read it to motivate my own self, because I'm not 100% always. And I was like, I should not feel bad about that. I'm human. It's okay.
Yes,
Just because I wrote this and I believe in positivity, it's okay that I have to go back and motivate myself or whatever. So yeah.
of course. And I can totally relate on that too, because when I share on social media,
Hmm.
if I'm saying a reminder of how to view something during the day, if you're going through something, you know how there's people out there that are like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like you're talking to me," which is, I guess
Hmm.
that's a good thing,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
if
Because
it
that's the whole point, to help
reaches
that person.
you.
Yeah.
But I had to respond like, girl, really? I'm talking to myself. And this is just what I'm saying. So I'm literally thinking out loud. And in a way, I'm kind of glad that people can hold on to that and take
Yeah.
something away from it. Now, before
Can
we,
Oh, go
yeah, go
ahead.
ahead. No,
No,
you
I
go.
was
You
gonna
go.
are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't wanna go over time. I was just gonna tell you, you just made me remind me of a presentation that I've done, and it's talking about filling your glass. Because 'cause I'm a person who doesn't believe in the glass half full or glass half empty. I think that the glass can be half full or full, but if it's full of junk, it doesn't matter if it's
That's
half full or
true.
half empty. So, when you are sometimes you have to pour fresh water into your glass, and that's a demonstration that I do. So I just wanted to say that sometimes, like when you're saying you're talking to yourself, or when I say I have to remind myself, it's like we're pouring fresh water into our glass, or we're watering our own grass so that we can continue to grow and be strengthened and help others. So sometimes you have to remember, you don't have to worry about how full the glass is, even if it's empty. Put something fresh in there so that you can refresh yourself.
Yeah. So it's all about the dirty water.
No, it's all about the
Right?
dirty water. No.
We don't want that dirty water, but the dirty water helps us get to that better place.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that just came to
No,
me.
I love that. And I actually saw that when you're on, oh my gosh, with Gail
Oh,
Guayardo. I saw
bloom,
you. Yes, I saw
bloom.
you when you did that. So that was a really good example. And
Mhm.
again, it's those visual things that
Yeah.
helps us to imagine that and see that. And it's a really good reminder. So I cannot wait for our listeners to find you and see all the ways that they can see your TEDx talk, because that was truly inspiring. All of the things that you do. I want you to give us your contact or how they can find you on social media, your website. But before we do, are there any, you've already given us a few really good takeaways, but is there anything specific for our listeners today on the Happy Girl podcast about moving forward with their positive thinking and how to really find their happy?
Well, there's something that I want to share that I am sometimes afraid to share it because people say, well, you're so, you're being mean, you're trying to get rid of people or something like that. But I believe that we have to, like today, when you said you saw me on Bloom, today I did Great Day Live. And I talked about making lemon pound cake out of lemons. And one of the things I talked about, when you crack the egg, what do? You throw away the shell. And we sometimes want to hold on to things that are the lemons in our life. So when we can make up our mind to remove things or maybe pull away from people, I don't mean like ghosting them, but pulling away from
Maybe.
people or maybe pull away from things or people that may be causing that downward spiral that may be adding to our unhappiness, then that can also help. So, some people say, well, my God, you're just trying to get rid of people. No, that's not true. You have to, you know what it is that's causing you to have that lemon in your life. So I always share, you know what? Be aware of that lemon, get rid of that so that you can feel better.
Yes, Dr. June. Great advice because, again, the reality, living this life, being a human being, being happy, it's not, yes, love everyone.
Yes.
But, it's not like you have that pressure or obligation to feel like you have to keep people in your life that
Mhm.
don't serve you or that are causing that water in your
Taking
glass to be
advantage of
murky.
you.
Right.
Yes. Causing
So,
that water to be dirty.
yes, it's okay to keep dipping their finger in it. Like, don't let them do that. They probably didn't even wash their hands for 20 seconds or something. Come on.
Exactly.
Well, I love that because I know you have so much to share. And I'm always happy when I see your face. I'm always happy when I see anything that you're doing. So thank you so much for sharing your light with our listeners. I know that you told us what makes you happy a little bit at the beginning, but I have to ask all of my guests what sparks happiness for you. So if there's any other thing that sparks happiness, go ahead and let us know.
Besides dancing and watching inspiring movies.
More.
What? I know. Well, you know what? I don't want people to think I'm lazy, but one of the things that one of my happy spots literally is just sitting on the sofa next to the hubs watching TV. I mean, that is like my happy spot. I don't have to be doing things, just chilling. Him sitting there, he might be on his laptop, right? And just watching TV doing nothing. That makes me happy. And
And
sometimes, you know what, we do a lot and we just need
yes.
to sit down sometimes and do nothing. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. That is not laziness at all. That is self-care, relax
Right.
time. And honestly, like I'm starting to learn so much more of my friends and people that I talk to. Even though we all like to do the things and have fun and go out and have adventures, we're all mostly homebodies and super indoorsy. And I think it's great to give us that permission to be able to
Yes.
do that.
Yes.
Good for you. Well, Dr. June, can you go ahead and tell our listeners all the ways that they can find you?
Well, the easiest way is to go to drjunehall.com. And that has, you can sign up for a newsletter. You'll find my Instagram, my TEDx, all of it on that one website. You can join the Aptatious Network. You can click on there and join us if you want to get involved in those monthly events or our annual event. Share information and gain information. I want to say
Awesome.
thank you, though, to you, Jamie. I can't believe that you were so wonderful to allow me to be a part of your podcast. I appreciate you.
It's been great staying in touch with you, Dr. June. And I'm super honored that you're able to come on the Happy Girl podcast. And we finally had this moment to chat together. And obviously, it's not going to be the last time. And I can't wait to continue staying in touch with you, seeing everything else that you're doing. And I'm definitely going to look more into that aptatious community as well and continue shining our light together. I think you're doing a wonderful job. And I really appreciate you, Dr. June.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Hey there. Are you thinking of starting a podcast? Have you created a podcast already and just not sure where to upload all of your episodes to? Well, I want to share Libsyn with you. That's where I upload all of my episodes to get out onto all of those platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, iTunes, and so much more. They have such a great support team and they're very user friendly. I want to give you the opportunity to take advantage of a month plus free by heading over to Libsyn.com and entering code HAPPY. There's plans and prices for everyone depending on your messaging and your audience. So head on over to Libsyn, that's LIBSYN.com, enter code HAPPY, and get a month plus free. Happy podcasting. I'm over here giving you the biggest virtual hug because you just finished another episode of the Happy Girl podcast. Wow, did that just go by way too fast? If you want more, head over to happygirlpodcast.com for show notes and discount codes from all of the sponsors. And if you're looking for a tribe of women just like you to bounce ideas and ask questions, be sure to join my exclusive community on Facebook. The link is waiting for you at happygirlpodcast.com.